Why run for your sixth term?
Well, there's just a lot of things left to do. Last session I was appointed chairman of House Insurance, and I know we hear a lot of things about property taxes, which we're working on. But when I'm out visiting, knocking on doors, talking to people, they talk about their property taxes, but right next to it they talk, man, my house insurance has gone crazy, and it has. So there's some things that we did last session, to deal with property and casualty to help reduce the cost. But just due to time, there were some things that we didn't get done. So that's a reason. But the other thing, I enjoy representing the 200,000 people that make up our district. A lot of people don't understand, but so much of what my job is helping people with problems. Recently, the Storm Fern, and everything that took place there. And I'm very proud of the work we're able to do working with SWEPCO, our power providers throughout the district, to make sure that we had one of the lowest number of outages of any region that the storm affected. So it's constant calls for help. And we get a lot of calls from people that, I didn't get my Social Security check. We're going on a trip and my passport's out of date, which isn't really state, but I enjoy helping people in trying to improve their quality of life. So as long as the good Lord blesses me with health, I want to continue to, to serve the people of East Texas, House District 7.
Talk to me a bit, because if I heard you correctly, you mentioned property taxes there. What would you like to see done regarding property taxes?
Well, I had actually at least two bills to, deal with property tax, eliminate, et cetera. This whole discussion of doing away with property tax has been going on for a very, very long time. If there was an easy solution, it would have been done a long time ago. The problem is, the reality is, it's not a problem, it's the truth. We are constitutionally obligated to educate the children of Texas. That's right now today about a $40 billion annual cost, to do that. So without good, clear thought and strategies to do away with property tax, where does that fall? And so I've got some ideas on that. Since I've been back in district, we've got some great tax people that I can talk to. So I'm working on some plans right now to where we're able to reduce the property tax, continue to reduce it, which we did this past session, and come up with other ways to meet that obligation. And the $40 billion is probably somewhat light, right? Last session, we had the largest increase in pub ed probably in the history of the state of Texas, $8.5 billion in new state money, which that amount of money is as big as many states' total annual budget. So it's a big deal. We have to be very, very careful in how we go about doing this. A lot of times we get ideas in Austin and we do things without, looking at all sides, all angles of an issue, and then only to come back the following session to correct what we forgot to do. So I want to see us take a very strategic approach with good plans that we know will work to help us do that.
I do want to ask you about that $8 billion that was allocated.
$8.5
billion that was allocated to public schools during the last session. It's my understanding some felt that wasn't enough money. What would be your response to that criticism?
I don't know who says not. When I go around and visit with all of my school districts, which I have, and talk to the superintendents, they feel really good about it. There's some things, of course, a lot of the money went to teacher pay raises, which was needed. $500 million went to paying other people, such as the librarians, such as the bus drivers, such as the cafeteria workers. But the inflation factor, we need to address that. Over the last 4 years, inflation by itself has cost the school districts a lot of money. And also the issues of safety, meeting the safety mandates, insurance, insuring their buildings. So we've got more work to do there. That's why I said the total is 40 billion. I personally think it should be closer to 50 billion. And I think as we continue to develop the plan I'm working on, as far as the taxation, I think we can do that, and we should do that.
So if you're reelected, what would you say are your biggest priorities?
Well, I think we got to continue to, work on things with, especially with President Trump. I mean, we got to continue to protect our border. We got to continue to, make sure we're on top of this whole immigration issue. I think we got to look at the tax situation. I've done a lot of work, and I think we've been very successful on protecting our water here. Economic development, although, the opponents, other candidates seem to think that economic development is not important. The exact word I think they use is corporate welfare. Economic development corporations were voter approved by each city that has an economic development corporation. And it's important for us to continue. Like right here in Longview, we were very lucky to get some really good projects landed here, the Dollar General Store Distribution Center, the whole Gap Distribution Center, and more. And so those things, that's one of the ways that you reduce property tax. One of the things I did as mayor and was very cognizant of, the more sales tax base we create, the less property tax dependent we have. So we've got to continue our economic development efforts, for rural East Texas, for House District 7.
Talk to me a bit more about water, because, East Texas groundwater, of course, a big issue. What would you like to see done to address that, if anything?
Well, I think we've done some things as far as Lake of the Pines and Caddo Lake through my bill last session. I think what we've got to do now is talk about the groundwater. This area right here does not have we're not a water conservation district. We're going to have to decide, does that make sense for us? Because, like I said, when I started a year ago in January working on this whole Lake of the Pines situation, Dallas is relentless when it comes to taking people's water. They have a huge thirst for water. It's due to them wanting to have all of the economic development over there. It's due to them wanting to continue to build houses and buildings, and they want to take it from us. Water is so important and pivotal to economic development, to sustainability of our residents long term here. It's a huge asset, and we need to do everything we can to protect that. In some cases, some of the people will tell you water's as important as the oil under the ground. And today, the prices of that water have gotten really high.